Hello and welcome to the 18th episode of Faith Among Wolves. My name is Andrew, and today we're going to be talking about honoring your mother right after this. Hello and welcome to Faith Among Wolves. My name is Andrew, and with me today I have Jacob.
Hello.
And a very special guest, Mrs. Daneé Kesler.
Hello.
Yeah, so like I said before, today we're talking about honoring your mother. And since neither of us are mothers, we thought it would be nice to have like a actual mother on the podcast. So, yeah.
And this is our Mother's Day special, just saying.
Yeah. If you didn't get the hint that it was coming out on Mother's Day, but so yeah, Mrs. Daneé is she's the wife of our pastor and really nice person. I've known her for all my life. So
yeah, 3 kids.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, of course.
So Jacob, would you like to kick us off with our first point?
All right. So the first segment we're going to be talking about is respecting your mother, and put a couple verses here. Proverbs 23:22 through 23. Listen to your father who gave you life, and don't despise your mother when she is old. Get the truth and never sell it. Also, get wisdom, discipline, and good judgment. In Ephesians 6:1-3, children, obey your parents because you belong to the Lord. For this is the right thing to do. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise. If you honor your father and mother, things will go well for you, and you will have a long life on earth. So, that kicks us off with our first question for you, Daneé. How can we respect our mothers today and every day?
Yeah, I love this question, and I think it would be a good thing to look at the definition of respect. So when we're talking about respecting our mothers, oftentimes we can think of this like a fearful, like almost like respect authority, like you would respect a police officer out of fear or something like that. But actually, if you look up the definition of respect, it says a feeling of deep admiration for somebody or a due regard for the feelings, wishes, and rights of another person. So I think when we talk about respecting our mothers, we have to think about this feeling of admiration and this feeling of regard. So when you talk about practical ways to respect your mom, it's to honor her wishes, right? So she says take out the trash, and you take out the trash, you don't ignore it, right? or she says do your homework and you do it, or even you honor her in asking how she is, how was your day, how are you feeling, what's going on in your life, what you're doing at work, what are you being interested in her is having regard for her. And so I think that's a good way to respect your mother. And I love the way that Proverbs, the 23 one, says get truth and never sell it, get wisdom, get discipline, and good judgment. This is right after it says don't despise your mother when she gets old. And I think it's kind of it's cool how they're placed together, because for those of us here at this table, we have really good moms, and it's cool that our moms speak truth to us and they give us wisdom, they discipline us, and then hopefully they're imparting good judgment to us too. So when you're thinking, what can I admire my mom for? You could go through that list. Does my mom speak truth to me? Does she share wisdom? Does she discipline me? Does she give me ways to have good judgment? Those would be things to admire your mom for. So I love that. And then the other verse too, like honoring your mom and things will go right for you. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool promise when we think about it.
It really is. Yeah. Okay. So the next question we have on here is, why should we respect our mothers?
Yeah, I think it's right there in that verse. One, because God tells us to. We're Christians. We want to live according to the Bible, and so when God is telling us to do something, we seek to do it. And so he's saying honor your father and mother, so we want to do that. And then it's so cool that it has a promise attached to it. It can be hard when, like I said, the people at this, we have really good moms, all of us, but it can be hard for those people that are saying maybe I don't have a mom that is respectable, right? Maybe their mom doesn't follow Jesus, or maybe their mom doesn't make good choices. So I think that goes back to before, giving that admiration for what they do get right? We don't want to focus on the negative, but focus on the positive. And so maybe your mom didn't get a lot right, but you can thank her for always having food on the table, or you can thank her for giving you a roof over your head. And I think attitude and heart posture goes a lot in this, right? If you're like, well, all I can thank you for, Mom, is you put food on the table, that's probably not going to go very well. But having a heart posture of humility and trying to honor your mother in that way of as an obedience to Christ. Honoring your mother as obedience to Christ is really a good thing.
Yeah, wow, that's some really good stuff right there. So the next question we have: what are some ways motherhood can be hard? What are some ways well, I guess that's kind of phrased funny, but what are some ways we can make it easier for you?
Well, you were not my kid, so so that's kind of funny. But yeah, children definitely can make motherhood more difficult or a little bit easier. So I love this. And when I was a teenager, I would always try to think about one day when I'm the parent, how do I want my kids to treat me? And then treating your parent that way, right? So you want your kids to listen to you. You don't want your kids to be off doing rebellious things and you have to sit at home worrying about them. You want them to be of good moral character and of good standing. And so, yeah, I think some ways that you can make it easier on a small level is like what we talked about earlier, the practical obedience, taking out the trash, vacuuming the floor. She says, clean your room, and you do it. But then on a bigger scale, moms have they call it like a mother's heart, right? Like they carry a burden for their children. And so when you are not living righteously and seeking first biblical living in God, then that's a heavy load on a mom. And so when they see like, oh, my kid's hanging out with bad friends, or my kid's doing things on their phone that's shady, or they see these kind of things, and that's worrisome to a mom. So you can really make it easier on your mom by submitting your life to Christ fully and not doing things of this world and living according to the Bible. That's a burden off of a mom to say, my kids are honoring God with their lives. And so, yeah, that's a good way to have a burden off your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Got a couple more verses that we put here that kind of talks about this and what the next questions are going to be. Proverbs 31:25 through 26. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. And Deuteronomy 6:6 through 7. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk to them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. So I actually have a question here on the spot. What should you do if you don't have like a godly mother?
Yeah, that's probably a case by case answer to if it was to go really deep. But in the basics, I think not having a godly mother would be so hard, right? Because the family unit, God has designed the family unit to be a reflection of Him. And so I think that it changes your family tree to have a godly mother and father. And so when that is missing, it's so hard for kids. Boys and girls alike have different needs and reasons for desiring a close relationship with their mom. And so I think if you don't have that godly mom, you could try to find another person to. No one's going to be your mom, right? Your mom is your mom, but you can find someone to mentor you and to say, hey, I don't fill in the blank. I don't feel like I get X, Y, and Z from my mom. Could you help me in that? Whether it's talk about dating. You don't have anyone to talk about dating with because you don't want to talk to your mom because she's not going to have a godly perspective. We find someone else and say, hey, you have a godly perspective. If I was your kid, what would you tell me? Would you tell me to date this person? Would you tell me not to date this person? So seeking outside voices that can kind of fill into that, and then a lot of prayer. because there's just a missing piece of your heart if your mom is not filling that godly place for you. And so a lot of prayer and submitting that to God and trying to walk through it with community, having friends. I had a lot of friends growing up that had really great moms, and I got to glean from their moms as much as I did my own. And so spending time with those other women that are godly. There was a verse actually that I had written down and then I took it out because I thought it wouldn't apply, but I can't remember. I think it was 1 Timothy, but it talked about honoring other women as if they're your mother, older women, and then honoring younger women as if they're your sister. Because some people talk about that in dating. Until you marry that person, treat them as a sister in Christ. Well, these older women, you can treat them as a mother, and you can honor them and respect them, and they'll kind of help you feel that a little bit, that place that your mom should have for you.
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff right there. Yeah, the next verse we have is Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he is old, he will not depart from it. So the next question we have on here is, why and how should we listen to our mothers?
Yeah, this is a good question too. I feel like it kind of goes with the how do we respect our mothers, right? When you listen, you honor what they say, right? To listen to your mom, you do whatever it is that she's asking of you, whether it's, hey, spend less time on your phone. That's a big one. Or it's like, come when I call you. That's a big one for me. I have toddlers. I'm like, you have to actually come. And then sometimes people have a hard time listening. They talk about the difference between hearing and listening, right? Teenagers do a lot of hearing and not a lot of listening. So a good way to participate in active listening is to try to have proximity to that person. So it's really easy for us to listen to each other right here because we're sitting super close. If I was in the other room and I'm trying to talk to you guys, it'd be harder. So if your mom is calling to you, you can go into that room and say, what are you asking of me? Try to be a more active listener. Go ahead, Jacob.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, teenagers hearing and not listening. Yeah, be a good listener. And this translate everything that your relationship with your mother will translate to your relationship with your future spouse, to your relationship with your future kids. And so really buckling down on, I'm going to do everything in my power to have this good relationship. So I'm going to become the best listener possible, right? And ask questions. That's, your mom says, clean your room. And you go make your bed, but you don't put away your clothes and vacuum the floor or anything like that. And she's like, you didn't clean your room. But you didn't know what she expected of you. So saying, your mom says, hey, Jacob, clean your room. And you say, okay, what would you like me to do in my room? Sometimes, especially teenagers, are like one track mind, like you're making your bed and then your video game buzzes and you get totally lost. So ask questions. What is it that you would like me to accomplish? And she said, well, I need you to vacuum. Okay, so I need you to get all the way clean to where you can vacuum the floor, right? Pick everything up. So yeah, asking questions is a really good way to participate in active listening. And and then the obeying that comes after listening. Do you guys have anything there as teenagers? Is it hard for you to do that? Is it easy?
Depends what it is.
Details. So like, is it hard when she says clean your room?
Oh no, it kind of depends. Like, if my room's an absolute mess, no, I have a very hard time trying to do that. But if it's like nice and clean, I'll be like, oh, okay, just quick.
Yeah.
But usually vacuuming the room, let's be honest, that's like one of the easiest things to do.
Yeah.
Just turn on the vacuum. But like a full-on skill clean, that's a little bit harder, so.
It gets a little more complicated when you share said room with two brothers who
that's true.
Store everything on the floor. And then vacuuming becomes a lot harder.
Yeah. What about if it's something else like we've decided you can't have a phone? Is that easy to respect and honor your mom in that, or is that really hard?
I'd say it depends. I guess like if it was something like that, I might feel a little disappointed that I couldn't text my friends and stuff. And so, but I'd say I generally try to honor that as much as I could.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I do not have a personal phone, but in my house there was a home phone. Mm-hmm. And if that got taken away, I could agree with Andrew. That'd be kind of hard because I like to talk with friends. So it would definitely be hard, but yeah, it tried to respect it.
Yeah. I feel like it's hard sometimes when you don't see the reasoning behind. So in parenting, they talk about that a lot. It used to be traditional parenting, talking like our grandparents and sometimes my parents. They would say like, because I said so. And now I think parents are more trying to explain reasoning, and sometimes they're not, and sometimes you just have to honor blindly. But it is always good to ask questions and say, okay, sometimes the information is too heavy. Like if my daughter asked, she's only 4, if she asked me a question about something, sometimes as a parent I have to make the decision, the information of why I made this choice is too heavy for her, so she just has to do it because I said so. But as teenagers, you're getting more into where you can know some of that stuff. So saying, okay, you don't want me to have a phone, can you tell me why? And then they can say, because there's millions of studies that say that it's bad for your brain, or because of the access to stuff we don't want you to have, or different. There could be many reasons. So asking questions about those reasons can be easier to honor a decision when you understand why the decision was made. And sometimes you don't have that privilege, but as teenagers, usually you can have some of the information of why the decision is made. So asking questions is always good.
Yeah, that's really good. I'd say another thing, like sometimes my mom will ask me to do something like the laundry, and then I'd like have every intention of going and doing that laundry, and I want to do the laundry, but then I like go work on schoolwork or I get distracted doing something else, and then the laundry doesn't get done, and so that's something I struggle with. But
yeah, and in an instance like that, I think as a mom, it's so good to have your kid just apologize and be honest. Honesty is always the best policy. I love that phrase. Saying, hey mom, I meant to do the laundry and I know that you asked me to do it. I got distracted. I'm sorry. I'll do it now. That's the best, right? Going to your mom and saying that instead of her coming in and finding laundry on the floor, right? That's always a better way to go about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's good. You want to do the next one?
Yeah, sure. The next question is, so I know in teenagers you're growing and you might encounter this more frequently, but what should you do in an argument with your mother?
Yeah, this is a good question because teenagers, it's almost like they like to argue with their mom, right? It's sometimes it can feel really hard to not have that tension in a house when you have teenagers. But it's good to remember basic arguing. I don't want to say skills, but the Bible talks a lot about arguing, and a lot in Proverbs and some of the letters in the New Testament talk about what to do in an argument and confronting that person and saying, hey, I have an issue with this. So for example, let's say you're a basketball player and your mom, you come home from basketball practice and she gives you 5 chores to do, and you don't want to do them. You just got back from basketball practice and you're tired, right? So you could say, instead of being like, well, mom, you always ask me to do stuff at the worst time and I don't want to do it and all this stuff, you could say, hey, mom, I'll do the chores today. In the future, when I get home from basketball practice, can I have 30 minutes to just recoup? Because it's hard for me. I'm with my friends. I'm tired. I come home. I just want a second to take a breather. Let me take a shower, change my clothes, and then can I do my chores? There's always a way around the argument.
Yeah, so like compromise and all that.
Yeah, and trying to see the other perspective. So Proverbs 23 says, avoiding a fight is a mark of honor. Only fools insist on quarreling. So when something comes up in your family, whatever it is that's provoking the argument, trying to attack the argument as a team, as a family unit, instead of trying to attack the person, right? You never want to be in that situation. So avoiding, that word in there is not, it doesn't mean you avoid your mom. Oh my goodness. No, but you try to see the other perspective and you try to come from a heart posture of, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get out of this without there being an upset argument blow up. And if that's me compromising, that's what'll happen. And your mom will be so grateful, and then they'll mirror that, right? The other thing I heard the other day about arguments is it's kind of like a ping pong match. So like one person says something and the other person says something back. And so you can stop an argument by just refusing to serve back to the other person. And so just holding that and saying, hey, I need a timeout. Act like you're two. I need a timeout. I need to go recoup. And can we talk about this later? I'm emotionally up here, and for us to talk about this in a proper way, I need to be down here. And so, yeah, I think fighting with your mom is going to happen, right? There's not a way to have no arguments in your home because teenagers are becoming adults. And so there's a level of independence there, and parents are always navigating that. They have no clue what they're doing. And so, yeah, you have to navigate what level of responsibility can my 13-year-old have versus my 16-year-old? What kind of level of responsibility does my child have at 17, 18? And that's so variable because how much trust has the child acquired from the parent? How much trust have they not acquired? So it's all moving variables inside of each family that can change this, and how many fights you have, what you fight about, all of that's variable, but trying to avoid and come in a humble heart and a way of honoring is always good.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That was really good. And got a couple verses. Proverbs 1:8. My child, listen when your father corrects you. Don't neglect your mother's instruction. So that's a verse. Can also go into it in Exodus 20:12. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land of the Lord your God is giving you. So that brings us into segment 2, praising your mother and blessing her, and yeah. So I'll read a verse, then Andrew could read a couple. Proverbs 31:28-29. Her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. There are many virtuous and capable women in the world, but you surpass them all. And then Andrew, could you read the other two?
I could. And I am going to. Sorry. That was a dumb joke. Yeah. Okay. Proverbs 23:24-25. The father of godly children has cause for joy. What a pleasure to have children who are wise. So give your father and mother joy. May she who gave birth to you be happy.
Yeah. And Proverbs 31:31. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. So, how would/does it feel to be blessed by your husband and children?
It feels so good. I think it feels good to be blessed by anybody, right? And so when your children are like, man, I see what you do. If my 4-year-old daughter came to me today and was like, Mom, I see how many times a day you unload the dishwasher, and I just love eating off clean dishes. Thank you so much. That would make me so happy. I would be so pleased. I would be like that verse, right? I would be overjoyed. And so I think, yeah, it really is blessing. It is a blessing to receive praise from someone. And it goes back to, earlier you talked about the Proverbs 31. She's clothed with strength and dignity. She laughs at the days to come, and she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teachings of kindness are on her tongue. Often when women look at Proverbs 31, they think it's like a list that they have to accomplish, but that's not how it really is. In their culture, at the start of their Sabbath, they would say this over their moms and their wives as a blessing. They were doing it to praise them, not to say meet these standards, but to say we love you, essentially. And so I think that that's a really cool example that they gave us to say, we can say this over our mom, like, I just love you. And I think it's always really good to say, I love you, right? But we want to take it a step further and say, I love you because we know we can reverse it, and you can say, I know that my mom loves me in my head, but you want to feel loved by your parents in your heart. Well, your parents are the same way. So if you say, I love you to your parent every night when you go to bed, they know that in their head, but you want to translate it to their heart. So you can say, I love you because, and you can fill in that blank with all the reasons and all the things that they do. And that takes it more from a head knowledge to a heart knowledge of it just makes it more receivable Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So that also translates into kind of the next question. What would be a good way to bless/praise your mother this Mother's Day and every day? And like some things that you like, make you feel good, special. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with the first half of that question, right?
Yeah.
Can you repeat it? Sorry.
What would be a good way to bless/praise your mother?
Yeah. So a good way is to make it real, make it genuine. The thing about Mother's Day is it's a day where you're basically told that you have to do this, right? So sometimes it doesn't seem super genuine. It can be genuine, and that's great. And you don't want to not celebrate your mom on Mother's Day because that would just be awful. But you want it to be genuine. You don't want to be like, I'm getting you flowers because it's Mother's Day, right? You want to say, I'm getting you flowers because I see all of the things that you do for me. I see the financial sacrifice. I see all of the food that you make. I see all of the hard work you put in at work so we can go camping. Whatever it is. I see your prayers. Sometimes you could say that. I see your dedication. You fill in the blank of what you see about your mom that is honorable. And so that would be a practical way. And going back to the I love you because, you can say, Mom, I appreciate you. Or you can say, Mom, I appreciate you because you're always there for me. When I want to talk and it's 10 p.m. and I'm dehydrated and tired, I come to you and you're always there to talk, right? You can say, you fill in the, I appreciate you because. That's a good way. And then the next part of the question is more practical, right?
Yeah, like some things that you like personally that could like give us some ideas, like what would be some good things to do for your mom on Mother's Day.
Yeah, I would love it if my kids would mop the floor. My kids are too young, but mopping the floor is like, every parent has a different opinion of what's the worst chore. To me, mopping the floor is the worst chore. And so mopping, dusting, doing things that your mom usually does. Maybe you could, if your mom does the dishes, do the dishes. If your mom makes breakfast, say, don't make us breakfast today. We'll make you breakfast. Ooh,
That's good.
Yeah. So, just trying to take, there is a lot of emotional load that comes with motherhood. And then there's a lot of physical load that comes with motherhood. There are physical chores that have to get done in a household for it to run smoothly. So taking some of that off can be really helpful. And then in terms of like, man, what should you get your mom for Mother's Day? There's a million things, right? Every mom is different, but flowers, earrings, necklace, a card. You could just, if you wrote your mom a card of all of the ways that you want to appreciate her and it was genuine and sincere, oh my goodness, she'd probably break down and cry. It'd be so blessed. It would bless her so much and make her heart so happy. Yeah, so I think that those are all really good ways to bless your mom.
Cool. So, like, any last thoughts before we start to close out?
I want to know what you guys think about, like, not personally about your moms, but what do you think a mother could do to best help a teenager become a well-rounded, godly adult? Do you have any thoughts on that?
That is a very deep question.
If you don't have an answer, that's okay.
Yeah, I'd say maybe like taking time to pray together or read the Bible or something. That would.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Jacob?
I think this could go for both sides, but like you said earlier, really listen to each other. So.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's something a lot of parents sometimes, like we already talked about, they get in the mode of listen to me because, and really as a parent, the relationship with your child is so important. And so sometimes people talk about arcs in relationships. If your overarching arc of your relationship with your child is criticism, or it's nagging, or it's instruction, all you do with your child all day is instruct them or nag them, that's not a very good relationship. Nobody wants to be in that relationship, right? And so you have to discipline your child. You have to instruct them. You don't probably have to nag, but sometimes kids don't do their chores. So it does go both ways, but you want the overarch of your relationship to be praise, to be love, to be fun things, right? I love it when a family that does fun things together is going to have a good overarching arc. And yes, the parents are going to have to discipline, but they have that relationship where the relationship can bounce back from the discipline. Whereas if the entire relationship is discipline and nagging and the parents aren't listening, then that's not going to be very good for the parent-child relationship. So I like that, Jacob. That was a really good thing.
Thank you. Andrew, would you like to share the last verse? Well, I think.
Sure. And yeah, it's been kind of encouraging, like hearing like just little things like saying, "Thanks, Mom," can really make a difference in her life. I guess it just feels like those little things don't really matter sometimes. But
yeah, I heard it once. This was said about marriage, but I think it goes for parenting and child relationships too. And the love languages that people talk about, one of them is words of affirmation. And the guy said essentially that words of affirmations expire every 24 hours. And so you may have told your mom that you appreciate her 2 months ago or last week, but they expire. And so you have to be, it might feel, you always want it to be genuine. You don't want to say it out of like contempt or just to say it, but they do expire. And so telling your mom frequently, "I see you, I appreciate you, thank you," is always going to be beneficial.
That's that's a nice thing to remember. Okay, so the second to last verse. A woman is John 16:21. A woman giving birth to a child has pain because her time has come. But when her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because of her joy that a child is born into the world.
Yeah, so do something for your mother today and every day. And Luke 2:51, and his mother treasured up all these things in her heart. So that brings us to the end of our episode. If you liked it, feel free to email us questions, testimonies, prayer requests. Even for Daneé, if you have any questions for her, we'd be willing to forward it to her, and that'd be at faithamongwolves@yahoo.com. faithamongwolves@yahoo.com. Capital H, capital A, and capital W on Faith Among Wolves. Oh, it doesn't? Oh, whatever. Or text to 571-492-4585. That'll be in the description. And happy Mother's Day!
And thank you so much, Miss Daneé, for coming on today with us. And
Of course.
sharing all that wisdom with us. That was really encouraging to hear. And I hope the listeners got as much out of this as I did. So
Me too.
yeah, thank you. And, if you guys liked this episode, maybe shoot a link to a friend. And until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
See ya. Peace.